We're going to turn to some news here in France, the fatal beating of a far-right activist. The case has become a subject of a spat between President Macron and the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Meloni, who is part of Italy's far-right, expressed shock at the young man's death, prompting Macron to call on her to stop commenting on what's happening in other people's countries. Here's Macron speaking earlier.
I'm always struck by the fact that people who are nationalists, who don't want anyone bothering them at home, are always the first to comment on what's happening elsewhere. If everyone just stayed in their own yard, the flock would look after itself.
We can cross now to our correspondent in Rome, Seema Gupta. Seema, how did this spat between Macron and Meloni unfold today, and has there been any fallout?
Well, what has actually happened is that we know that Giorgia Meloni, the right-wing prime minister here in Italy, took to social media on Wednesday. And in her comments, she referred to the death of this young man in his 20s, attacked by groups linked to left-wing extremism and overwhelmed by a climate of ideological hatred that is sweeping across several nations, is a wound to the whole of Europe. So she referred to this attack as being a wound to the entire continent, and she added that no political idea can justify violence. And then we saw the French president, of course, making those statements, as we saw earlier, and essentially saying that she should stop commenting on French affairs. Now, we understand from media reports that sources at the Prime Minister's office here in Rome have expressed astonishment at the French president's reaction. They say the statement made by Prime Minister Meloni was meant to show solidarity with the French people that are affected by this event, and that in no way has any bearing whatsoever on France's internal affairs. Now, one has to remember that there have been differences in the past between President Macron and Prime Minister Meloni on several issues, including immigration, and this just adds to that spat, if you like. We've also heard from Italy's foreign minister, who's part of the right-wing coalition in government right now, Antonio Tajani. He also taking to social media, saying that the killing of this man in a university context is a real serious fact and should be of concern to everyone. He said that it's an episode that should be condemned without hesitation. And he reminded people that there were events like this, similar events like this in the past here in Italy, and that it was some of the darkest periods for Italy. And so the idea to condemn such episodes is also to ensure that there's no return to what he referred to as a bad past in Italy as well. So clearly reaction here from the right-wing government expressing shock to the response by the French president.
Okay, Seema Gupta, our correspondent in Rome. Seema, thanks for that update.